Hey guys and girls, how's it going? Hope you guys on a great week. So welcome to the Normandy News Feed, your one-stop shop for all things gaming news related. We're actually going to revamp this series this year. We're going to change it a little bit. So it's going to be smaller, it's going to be a bit more focused, less of a podcast, general discussion, more of a deep dive focus on gaming news and obviously talking about that. It's mostly going to be myself and Dante, and we're going to do these videos hopefully every 2 weeks. And we'll obviously reflect back on the last 2 weeks and some of the biggest gaming news reveals and our thoughts on them, and obviously share that news with you all. Do feedback on this video series, let us know what you guys think of it, and hopefully along the way we can hopefully get some guest speakers coming in as well, friends joining us to share their thoughts as well, but we'll see how we go. So let's jump straight into it. Let's not even beat around the bush, let's jump straight in.
Welcome to Citadel Newsnet. I'm Emily Wong.
And the first thing that I want to talk about to kick us off today is a game that was revealed about 2 weeks ago now, or a week ago, I think it was, just over a week ago. And that is Blood of the Dawnwalker. We finally got a revealed cinematic trailer with a tiny snippet of gameplay at the end, though really it wasn't really gameplay, it was so tiny. But I'm super hyped for Blood of the Dawnwalker. This is from a studio called Rebel Wolves. They're made up of veterans from CD Projekt Red, and it was co-founded by a guy whose name I'm probably going to butcher because it's a Polish name, a guy called Konrad Tomaszkiewicz. I hope I did that justice. I apologize if I didn't. And he basically was the one of the creative directors for The Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt. So let's just say this guy's got some pedigree, and he's obviously leading the way. Apparently this is the first chapter for the game, so that tells me that maybe this hopefully will become a franchise and they'll make other games in the series. But it looks dark, it looks really cool. I love the vibe. Let's go through a little bit of information on it, and then we'll obviously talk about our thoughts on it, Dante. So it's a single player open world dark fantasy AAA RPG, developed in Unreal Engine 5. It looks gorgeous, and it's set in 14th century Europe during the Black Death, which is very interesting because you don't get many games set in 14th century Europe, so that should be an interesting setting. Basically, the human population, of course, has been decimated by disease and pestilence, and the vampires and other creatures of the night take advantage of this to basically gain their freedom and their power. Effectively, these vampires kill all of the nobility, the lords in charge, and basically take over. You actually play a main character called Cohen, and Cohen is a young man that has been turned into a Dawnwalker. Think Blade, in the way that he can sort of, you know, walk a thin line between, you know, day and night. He's part human, part vampire, and has all the abilities and skills that come with that. Apparently the abilities and skills that you have are going to be different by day as opposed to by night. So in the daytime, I guess you'll rely heavily on swords and things and weapons and things, but actually at nighttime, that's when your vampire powers will really come out to play. Yeah, exactly. And obviously you'll be able to use those. What's really interesting for me though is the game actually it's set over 30 days and 30 nights, and your goal is you can either save your family or get revenge on your sire who created you, and obviously you'll be making key choices as to who to ally with. This is not just your simple humans be good, vampires be bad. It is not that. It's a lot more complex, and obviously, you know, some humans can be really bad and really dark and obviously commit atrocities, and some vampires and creatures of the night may well become allies that you can ally with and make friends with. But what's really interesting is the 30-day 30-night cycle. So as you play through the game, it has a day-night cycle, but time does not progress normally. Think Persona, right? Persona 5, Metaphor, Fantasio. So as you complete certain quests, both main story and side quests, these will progress time. So you have to.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that. So you have to choose how to spend your time wisely. And Conrad, I'm just going to call him Conrad, basically in an interview did say that, and this is what he said directly about the mechanic: time is a resource, and with each quest progressing its passage, it is impossible to complete all stories and arcs before the dreadful deadline, making each playthrough unique. We call it a narrative sandbox. So that's kind of going to be interesting.
Okay.
But yeah, apparently also we're going to get a gameplay reveal in summer. We are going to get a bigger, more in-depth gameplay reveal in summer. So we're going to learn a lot more then. But seriously, Blood of the Dawnwalker, it looks so good. Like, what are your thoughts on it, Dante?
Once again, not super seeing gameplay always makes me cautious and all gives me no opinion really until I see that kind of stuff, because you can make the cutscenes as pretty as you like. But the team behind it gives me confidence. Very much. And I'm some of my roots come from Vampire the Masquerade, so I'm getting vibes of that. So I won't be surprised if like the sequel, the next game, is set in a massive time skip and you get to more modern times as the sequels go on.
Oh, that's
So that would be cool. Yeah, Daywalker in Masquerade terms, they're called ghouls, where they like just get given a bit of the vampire blood. So you've got some of the powers, like a bit of the extra boost, but you're not a full vampire. So you can happily frolic in the sun.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's kind of the same.
So apparently, I've been reading up on it, and apparently, Cohen, the main actor, the main character, works in silver mines or something, and that's what's given him a little bit of immunity to the vampire.
That's werewolves.
Blood. That's werewolves is silver. So I don't know how accurate that is. Obviously, we'll learn more. But if that is the case, then they really need to be checking their lore, because that is werewolves, not vampires. Obviously, it's more to do with the whole like you can suck their blood, but they don't bite you, right? They don't drain from you in terms of that, which we do see in the trailer where he saves his sister. The vampire. But what's really cool with this is another thing I read about it is the vampires are obviously very unique, and I love the style of them, but they're different in terms of age. And one way that you know that they are different is the length of their fangs. Apparently. So yeah, basically the fangs keep growing effectively. And so one of the main vampires that we see, I forget his name, but when they retract, they're a bit like snakes. In like when they open their mouths, the fangs kind of like come out. So obviously the stronger and older and more powerful a vampire is, the more teeth it has, or the longer those fangs are. So that should make for some pretty interesting designs, I think.
But go more Nosferatu-y and
and especially after the most recent movie, which I haven't seen and I really am wanting to see, that new Nosferatu is supposed to be very, very good apparently. But we don't nearly have enough like good vampire video games. We have tons of fucking zombie games and all sorts of other things, and but we don't have enough good quality vampire games.
There was a wave of them, but they all messed them up.
Yeah, they did, especially with the most recent Redfall, of course, which we don't speak about, but I'm very excited, and the fact that it is from sort of veteran Witcher developers, I think I'm already digging the style and the setting, and obviously the whole purpose of the cinematic trailer is to set the tone, right? And that's what The Witcher did when it came out. It had fully CG cinematic trailers that just set the tone, and they've done the same again most recently with The Witcher 4, and then later on you get more gameplay reveals. So I have faith. I'm hoping it's going to be good. I'm loving the whole dark fantasy RPG, especially after we didn't get that in Dragon Age: The Veilguard. So I'm really, really itching for a good dark fantasy RPG.
Yeah, those guys know what they're doing.
Yes, so and it's going to be interesting, and I hope it'll be like The Witcher in that the case of like there are no clear good or right or wrong answers. There is this moral ambiguity which I really like and I really enjoyed in The Witcher 3. Was like there was no right decision, and sometimes you made decisions that had unforeseen repercussions, right? And then you just had to kind of deal with that. So I like it, and I also really like the 30-day, 30-night cycle. Of having to make choices, like choose what you're going to focus on, which I'm all for as well, which should be really, really good. So yeah, very excited for that. Looking forward to seeing more. And we definitely will be talking about the gameplay reveal likely when it comes out in summer. I'm sure we're going to do a special kind of like summer game fest type episode, so I'm sure we'll be talking about it again. The second thing I want to talk about, of course, it's not really a reveal per se, but obviously we've had a lot of leaks and reveals and things about the Switch 2, and obviously Nintendo finally confirmed it is happening. We knew it was happening, and we got like a very short kind of like reveal about it, which is basically that it's going to be bigger than the Switch in size, and obviously the size of the Joy-Cons. The Joy-Cons are going to clip on, magnetic kind of, rather than the way that they're done at the moment. It's going to be backwards compatible. That's been confirmed, which is very good decision. I think that's an excellent decision. But other than that, we really didn't get any specifics about no specs or anything. They are going to have a specific direct for it, which is going to be on the 2nd of April this year, obviously, so a few months away, and I think that's when Nintendo will fully reveal everything. But what are you hoping to see with the Switch 2? Because obviously I know the Switch is, I have a Switch as well, but I don't think I'm going to pick up a Switch 2. I think it's going to be you that probably will pick it up. What are you hoping to see? What would you like to see in the next step up from the Switch?
Well, first off, fixes over certain issues. So the whole Joy-Con drift issue, that needs to go.
Yep.
I don't know if the extra bit of ring or something that they were showing in the trailer would help against that. Hopefully drift is gone. That would be good, because that was their main issue overall. I suppose the next main issue would have been just power, like
more powerful.
This is why I'm actually glad they've just called it Switch 2. They don't need to be fancy about it. They don't need to be complicated. It is like what it is. It is a pure upgrade of like the NES and then the Super NES. It's like, yeah, it's the same thing but much better. Hopefully, and I'm hoping it will, all the frame drops and such we had on previous games, like maybe they'll be working better on this version.
Yeah. And the where stuff clips in, like,
in the draw
distance, rendering,
bringing it all in. So, because a lot of people, when they compared it to other consoles playing the same game, they were like, but it's like a watered down version, so they can fit it on the lesser hardware. So hopefully it brings it back up again. Having slightly bigger screen, I suppose, is always nice. And I'm curious what the heck's going on with the Joy-Cons now, because it's got a little mouse, kind of one of those little lights on each of them. So it's like, okay, haven't played with a mouse on a Nintendo product since Mario Paint on the SNES.
Maybe that's going to be something. It's going to be some kind of a snipper clips or whatever, like kind of game.
Yeah,
Mario Party. That's something.
Yeah, a lot of it, but because we haven't fully, and this is what winds me up about leaks, is they ruin surprises to begin with.
Yep.
It's like, oh, that would have been nice, but so many idiots on like social media and stuff like that. The moment Nintendo post anything about anything, they're all like, Switch 2, and they're just,
and complaining it's not about the Switch 2 if it's something else.
It's like, shut up.
Yeah.
And of course that causes things to rush. They complain about when things are rushed, and then they're trying to rush them. It's like, it's so confusing. So this like little reveal trailer almost seemed like yeah, okay, yeah, rumors and leaks are mostly true. Shut up.
Yeah,
So,
we'll be back in 2 months when we've actually got what we prepared already.
but at the same time, it's made some people now concerned because it didn't reveal enough. They weren't ready to reveal stuff until I suppose this April direct or whatnot.
Yep.
So because it's only shown a little, everyone's like, "Oh, it's just the same thing then, isn't it?" And it's like, "What do you want?" Just be patient. I think
Yeah.
that's all I need.
I think.
Because see,
Go on.
even I can't be 100% I'm getting this until I know it's a definite upgrade. Like it's almost kind of seeming like the 3DS when they brought out the new 3DS. There was like just a handful of games that would only work on that or were much quicker. I think like Smash Brothers ran a hell of a lot faster with its loading screens, but the Xenoblade port you could only play on the new one because it was just so much bigger. And it's like, but there wasn't super much difference between it. But a slightly nicer screen. We'll get the high res and the
I think there's been
upscaling and all
a
that.
longer gap though since the Switch came out, because we're
Oh
talking
yeah,
now what, 8 years?
yeah.
About 8 years since it came out. So you know it is due for a console refresh or the next step up in it, and it is getting to the point where games are really starting to struggle now, you know, in terms of what they. It is still incredible some of the programming geniuses that have been able to, like, you know,
The compression.
yeah, like look at like Zelda, you know, Tears of the Kingdom. That game should not have been able to run on the Switch.
No.
Between like the 3 levels of like the air, ground, and underground, all seamlessly working. Incredible, phenomenal programmers just that have been able to make that work on the Switch. So that makes me excited, obviously, for and people have been asking for the Switch as a console is absolutely genius, from the ability to dock it and have it work on the screen as your main console, and the ability to take it and have it be portable. Absolutely genius. And a lot of other, like Steam Deck is copying it. You know, you can get a docking point for the Steam Deck, and you can have that on your TV, you know, to play your PC games and take it handheld as well. Of course, they're going to imitate on that. But now the Steam Deck is getting quite popular, and it is a more powerful piece of kit. So I think the Switch is getting to the point where it is starting to struggle, you know, with games, and therefore you do have a certain style of games on the Switch in terms of visual design and art style, because it does lend itself better to that. So it probably means they are missing out on a lot of, like, you know, third party deals that they could be doing and bringing over more people. Of course the Switch is not struggling. It's one of the highest selling consoles like ever, but obviously they're going to want to keep that player base, right? And I think that's the thing is, okay, are people going to make the next step? I do think it needs to be a lot more powerful. I think the screen, even though it's bigger, still needs to be OLED, because
as default it should
it has to be OLED, because if they go back to what the screen was with the original Switch, it's going to feel like a step down for many people that bought the OLED, and they're like, I'm just going to wait for the OLED version of the Switch 2 to come out. Which it will do eventually. Exactly. So I think that's a thing. I think resolution is a thing. I do think it is a thing too. 720, absolutely friggin' not. 1080p, I think actually is a step back. I think the screen needs to be maybe handheld 1080p, on console, on monitor 1440. Right. So I think that, you know, I think they've got to be careful there, in terms of it's got to be a step up. It's definitely got to be a step up over what it has. But obviously, yeah, I do think you're right. I think a lot of new releases, like the new Metroid Prime 4, that's going to be cross-generational, just like Breath of the Wild was. But hardly anybody brought Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, because everybody that really wanted that game made that jump to the Switch. So... And if you're wanting to play it in the best version it can be, then obviously you probably would buy the new console if it is a huge step up, right, in terms of performance and frame rates and all that kind of thing. I know Nintendo don't care about frame rates and resolution, as they shouldn't do. I think players do put too much focus on that and how a game looks as opposed to the quality of gameplay on offer and gameplay design, right? Nintendo's always been very good at that. So I don't think they care as much about it, but I do think it needs to be a step up, especially if you're asking people to basically jump off of the Switch onto the Switch 2. I do think they've got the marketing a lot better. Like the Wii U, what the hell was that marketing? Like nobody knew what that console was. Like, you know,
was the experiment moving into what would become the Switch.
The Switch, it wasn't the right time for it because it just wasn't there. So yes, and I think that's why the Switch did so well, if I'm honest, because the Wii U failed so horribly. It allowed the Switch to be as successful as it was because it was so good and it was so clear, had such a clear vision as to what it was, that it was great. So I think so long as the Switch 2 is, and it's fine, Nintendo are playing it safe, and that is the right thing to do in this current climate. It's fine, absolutely fine. We don't need you to shake up the foundations of gaming every time you release a console. That's totally fine. So it'll be interesting to see what that Direct reveals, obviously, in April. I'm looking forward to actually seeing what the specs are. So the other thing I wanted to discuss as well was Mark Darrah basically released a video talking about the history of Bioware, a little bit about the development of Veilguard, and talking a little bit about the future of the next Mass Effect. And I'll put a link to the video in the description below because it's quite an insightful video, and it does really give a lot of information about it, and I found it really, really interesting. So he kind of talks about the evolution of Bioware, that when they started off, when they first began, obviously, and I think he's been at the studio since like 1997, which is insane. Obviously, he's not there any longer. But he talked about when they first began, they had lots of like projects on the go. And the idea was that you would have multiple projects on the go, multiple teams iterating and working on different projects. And then, you would kind of once they were at the point where they were ready to go into full production, then you would take some resources and put it into that project. But every year or couple of years, you'd have something coming out. You'd always have something to sort of fall back on, right? And then you had like the heyday of like Bioware when they brought out like Dragon Age Origins, right? And then Mass Effect and Knights of the Old Republic and Jade Empire and, you know, the heyday of Bioware. But then he talked about how as progressively they've gotten on and sort of progressed on time, they've stopped doing that they've started to focus down on projects. And so they've stopped doing DLC completely. They made a conscious decision after Andromeda, basically with Andromeda, Mass Effect Andromeda, to stop doing DLC. And I think that's a bad decision because he talked about like DLC can be a good opportunity for people to like work on something and like and carry on learning and training and building up your next leaders and your next developers while waiting for the next big project to be ready, to be out of iteration, to be out of pre-production into full production. But because they're not doing DLC anymore, they don't have that. So he talked about like everybody doubled down and focused on Dragon Age the Veilguard, right? And it pulled resources, you know, from Mass Effect and from other areas. But now that Veilguard has gone, a lot of the developers that are there, Mass Effect is not ready to have a full team on production, like 200 plus people working on this game. It's still in that early iteration. And you don't want too many people iterating on a game because then you've got too many ideas coming in, you know what I mean? And it lacks that cohesion, it lacks that vision. So he said a lot of these developers are moving on to other projects within EA. So they've not been laid off, thankfully, but they've been moved on to other projects. And there is concern that when Mass Effect is ready for full development, whether or not these developers, these experienced developers, are going to come back or not.
Yeah.
You know, so he was talking about that and obviously talking about it's a bit of a weird place is Bioware at the moment, and then focusing down just on like, you know, after the flop that was like Anthem and everything else, like just doubling down on Veilguard, right? And then obviously then that has to be successful. Then that didn't perform as well as it should have done. I think it missed its mark by like 50%. It only achieved 50% of its like predicted sales, I think, or something. With the EA, they released like a report to their shareholders recently saying it only hit 50% of its target. I think it said something like 1.7 million people are engaged in the game, whatever that means. So that doesn't necessarily mean sales, because you can like sign up for the EA access kind of thing, and you pay a certain fee and you can play like your basic fee. I think you can pay like the first 5 hours of the game and then just decide, you know, not to play anymore. Right. So it might be like 1.7 people checked out the game, but not 1.7 million people bought it, which is concerning. You know what I mean? Obviously for the future of Bioware, and obviously for the next Mass Effect. I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer. But exactly. But the more that I am like, when I was watching this video, my heart just sank, because I was just like, God, what are they doing? What are they doing at Bioware? Who are making these decisions? Because for me, I think having multiple projects on the go and having like maybe 1 or 2 other projects in iteration while working on a main production makes sense for me, because you've got backups. What if your project gets cancelled? Because that's happening left, right, and centre across the board. Like look at what Sony's done recently with cancelling 8 of its live service games, right? Two of which recently with Ben's studio, and then is it Blue Point, the other one? So which do like really good remakes. So they've both been working on live service titles, and they've spent years probably working on it and put tons of work into it, and it's just been scrapped like that.
Yeah, it's mad. You got to wonder who is making those decisions, and like, because they had it so good back in the heyday, but and then was that before they got bought by EA?
Yeah, before they got bought. So because that's how they survived. They had constant projects on the go, and then they would start to grow and recruit people for projects and stuff like that. And then obviously EA bought them.
But then obviously the method of working is changing, or
and I think part of it might be to do with remote working, because that's the thing. Whereas before, like, you would be very much within your own studio, so you'd be working on DLC content, right, for that game to give you something to do while another team iterates on the next game until you're ready to move on to that full production. But because people are now working remotely from home, that means that EA can take those people and put them on other projects internationally on any studio that's working on anything. And so that makes them more like an employee of EA rather than an employee of Bioware.
Yeah.
You know?
And also, and passively as well, just making games these days seems to take longer. They're bigger.
I don't understand why, though. They don't need to be, though. That's the whole point.
Well, that's it.
They don't need to be.
Certain other companies are bashing more out quicker, but and that's why we don't seem to be getting this influx of really good ones anymore. Or the direction, it is the direction that's getting a bit confused lately with what they want out of a game, and that's why a lot of them are stuffing
changing direction,
microtransactions as well. And
well, like,
look, they're aiming for money.
Look at Veilguard. I mean, Veilguard started off as Project Joplin, which was a fully single-player game. It then got completely changed to a live service title, and then 3 years ago, it got completely changed to a single-player RPG again. And you can see the bare bones of that live service game within Veilguard. You can easily see the foundations there of that live service game, because they couldn't throw every asset out and throw everything they'd done out, because to have to start completely from scratch again would have delayed that release even further. There's already been 10 years between, you know, Inquisition and Veilguard.
Yeah.
But that's that lack of vision, that lack of cohesion.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not going to lie. I am a little bit concerned about the next Mass Effect as well, because I think we just got a recent article which talked about EA's stocks plummeted by about 19% after their recent earnings call with their shareholders. Because I think not only did Dragon Age the Veilguard not hit targets, but actually they're not FIFA, but their football, whatever, that FC football or whatever, that didn't hit targets either, and that's one of their biggest cash cows, obviously in their live service game. But apparently that game, when it released, it released with a lot of core systems not there. And people actually spoke with their money, which is what they should do, right? Because it's not acceptable. But it might mean that EA is a bit stricter on Bioware, possibly, in terms of how much money they're willing to put into that project. I don't know.
They'll crack on one day that they've got to put the players first. Not money laundering.
Not money laundering, I know, exactly. Well, that's illegal. That's a crime, but yes. But yeah, so I think that's the thing, though. I think I like Dragon Age, and Dragon Age is popular, but I think Mass Effect as a brand is more powerful, and I think the Mass Effect Legendary Edition very much demonstrated to them that there is a demand there, right? And they now have a new community of new players that have just jumped onto Mass Effect that are very interested in the next Mass Effect. So they need to make sure that they are letting Bioware make the game they want to make, right? Without getting involved, unless obviously Bioware is screwing things up, obviously. Hopefully not. But
turn it into a looter shooter, I'm gonna...
No, just a purely single player experience. It's all about the writing for me. I'm worried. I am worried because the writing for Veilguard was so poor. I have never seen writing that bad for Bioware before in terms of dialogue and choices and RPG narrative role playing. I was quite shocked by how poor the writing was in Veilguard, and that has me concerned for the next Mass Effect. They need to get some good experienced writers that know the law, respect the law.
Oh, if they do it to Mass Effect. Oh, imagine.
If they kill Mass Effect, I don't know how I'm going to react. I don't know how I'm going to react. I can't even imagine how I'm not going to be good.
Like that Mass Effect book that got republished because the one about the Quarians just wearing rags, and it was like, oh, they're just gypsies of the space and all that. It's like, no, those are suits. They need those suits. And that needed to get
to survive
retracted, and it's like, wait, you don't know the law at all.
How can you not even? Yeah. So I hope I'm always going to go in as an optimist and hope to be proven wrong and not to have my heart broken. So we'll see. But yeah, Mark Darrah's video is very interesting. I definitely check, you should check it out. You should watch it. It has some very interesting insights into the behind the scenes work and running and functioning within Bioware, and how the studio has changed and evolved over time as well. And a lot of people have left. A lot of it is not the Bioware that we knew. A lot of people have left. That is a very different Bioware than we've had in the past, and so we'll see obviously how that goes. So the last thing I want to talk about is a lot more positive. Which is nice to finish this off in a positive way. So I wanted to talk about the Xbox showcase that obviously came out last week on, was it Thursday? I think it's a blur now, but I really like what Xbox are doing with their showcases at the moment. They're really good. I love the fact that they double down on 4 key projects rather than having a ton of cinematic trailers that give you absolutely no information, and they're all world premiere. I can't be doing with any of that crap. I like the fact that they actually deep dive into 4 games that we know are coming out. You get to actually hear from the people making them. You get to go behind the scenes and see the development studios and see the genuine passion of these people making these games. I am all for it, and I absolutely love it. And I thought they did a brilliant job. Obviously, we got 4 revealed. Well, 1 was a reveal. 3 were other games that we already knew about. But we obviously we got to go to Ninja Theory, which was kind of cool to sort of see where they're at. And obviously we learned that we're getting a new Ninja Gaiden game, Ninja Gaiden 4, which looked awesome, looked really great. It's been a long time since we've had a Ninja Gaiden game, like a new one, in the series. Long time, like Xbox 360 era is what I'm thinking. So yeah, I'm very, very much looking forward to that. And then they just shadow dropped the fact that Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which is a remaster, it's not a remake, it's a remaster in Unreal Engine 5 of Ninja Gaiden 2, which is available day one, like right now on Game Pass. Like you can just download it and play it, which is friggin' awesome, that you can just play that. Maybe get to grips with the combat a little bit before Ninja Gaiden 4 comes out. I still don't know how I'm going to feel about the game, because the combat looks so over the top, which it always has done in Ninja Gaiden games.
Platinum Games involved as well.
I know.
Full Bayonetta-ish.
Yeah, that's true. When I did hear that like Platinum Games and Ninja Theory were like combining, like working together on this project, I was like, oh hell yeah, that's gonna be awesome. So I imagine that the set pieces are going to be over the top and absolutely insane, especially Platinum Games are involved. But I'm hoping the combat will be enjoyable and fun. Not punishing like Souls-like, more of a action games, which is what the original like Ninja Gaiden games were. I think I played like 2 or 3 on the Xbox 360, but I never beat them. I wasn't good enough at that time to beat them. Maybe I am now. Maybe that's changed. I've got years and years of gaming experience under my belt now. Maybe I will be able to finally beat a Ninja Gaiden game. But it looked cool. And we got a new character, which is awesome.
Yeah, not playing as Ryu this time.
Yeah, although he is in it. So it's a little bit like Devil May Cry 5, in that you could like play as other characters, but he's still in it. So you get to play moments as him. But actually, you're against each other, which is interesting. Like you're actually going to get to fight, like Ryu, like that's going to be insane. That's going to be insane. But it's coming out in fall 2025, so this year. Hopefully, won't get delayed. But it looks fantastic. The other games we got to see was South of Midnight, which is coming out on the 8th of April. That game looks... I love the art style of that game. I think it just looks so cool. And to like learn about...
Swap motion-y a bit.
Yeah, and they've purposefully, gone down that route for the animations and the cinematics and whatever. I love just the art direction. Everything just looks so interesting and creative. And I'm very interested to learn about like mythology and myth to do with the Deep South. That's not an area that's really been explored before, so I think that's going to be fascinating. I think to see them do that.
Possibly get people looking some stuff up as well, because it's like, this isn't your normal fairy tales.
Your normal fairy tales, exactly. Yeah. Totally. And it looked good. It looked really good. Like the gameplay and everything looked pretty good too. We got to see quite a bit of gameplay, and the game is looking very, very good. I'm very interested to check it out and try it out. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But the one I'm most excited about is Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Like that game is just right up my street. Obviously, it's coming out on the 24th of April now, so April is looking pretty stacked.
April's rammed.
Yeah, like March and April, like February, March, and April is now looking pretty stacked. But Claire, like Obscure, the title is fucking awful. It's got an awful title. It's so convoluted. Just call it Expedition 33 or something. Why the Claire Obscure? I guess we're going to find out, obviously, as part of the lore. But I am so interested in this. I think the premise is fascinating. I think the premise is so interesting about the artist lady or whatever she is, that painter that paints your number, which is your birth, your age. And if you are that number, you just disintegrate, like you disappear. And they're trying to hunt her down, and you're part of this expedition to do that. It looks very interesting. Yeah,
it's very Atlas inspired as well. You can see the Persona style-y like UI camera jerks and
stylish, yeah,
it's like, oh, it's
and the
cool.
turn-based combat as well, but with also some like action kind of Mario, like Paper Mario RPG kind of like
counters or blocks
and blocks and things,
extra damage and stuff,
and quick time sort of prompts kind of thing to do more damage. So I think that's gonna satisfy both your turn-based gamers as well as your more action-focused gamers. I think it's gonna have a little something for everyone. So I think
it's definitely a blend.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it works, like how it's balanced. I'm more interested in how it's balanced to do with it. But we got like a lot more like scenes and voice acting. We got to see more like actual like interaction with the characters, and I quite enjoyed. Like they seemed there were some funny moments and things, and you know, it's got Ben Starr in it, right? Isn't Ben Starr in this?
He was definitely doing the.
He was doing the narration. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the characters in it. I would imagine so. But yeah, like Claire Obscure, like I'm so interested in that game, and I really do hope it lives up, you know, to expectation.
Yeah,
but
it showed us some mechanics of like one of the characters as well, that new one that got revealed that can like transform into enemies.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
Yeah. Different races and
like,
things.
So many styly. Yeah, lots of little RPG elements from past games. Even the world map, how they've done that.
Yeah, that looks interesting with the world map.
Look, they definitely had an idea and a vision, those guys.
Yeah. It's their first game as well. It's their debut game for this studio, based in France, I think. A debut title. It's very impressive, like when you see it. So you can definitely tell that it's a passion project. So I'm intrigued to play it and check it out. I'm really looking forward to it, and obviously it's not far away. It's only 24th of April. And then the last one obviously is Doom: The Dark Ages, which the more I see of this, the more I'm like, oh, dude, this is just gonna be badass. Like just you're just gonna enjoy playing it. I do actually like the fact that it seems that Doom: The Dark Ages is more grounded combat, because they talked about every Doom has been a little bit of a iteration on itself. So Doom 2016 was like run and gun. Doom Eternal was more like your hook, your slingshot. So it was more jumping and aerial attacks and combat, like jumping and shooting. I found Doom Eternal too hectic for me. It was too frenetic, you know, zipping here, there, and everywhere. It was just too much for me. So I'm very much looking forward to Doom: The Dark Ages, because obviously you have that shield, which looks awesome, and obviously it's set in the Dark Ages, medieval or whatever fantasy. But the Doomslayer looks like a badass, and that shield, like the ability to block and parry and then throw the shield as well, and that is one of the things I quite enjoyed in Veilguard. But it's going to be even better obviously in Doom. It's going to feel more satisfying, of course. Yeah, and then like the weapons, and then they've also got melee attacks and melee weapons as well, with like the freaking it looks so good. And then you can ride a dragon in part of it as well, and then you can like do a mech suit, so you're like big fucking kaiju fights and stuff like that. Like it just looks utterly insane, and I am all for it. They have confirmed it's purely single player campaign. There is no multiplayer at all. None. It's pure single player campaign, which I'm okay with. And I know some people enjoyed the multiplayer, because I think Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal, one of them did have multiplayer, PvP, I should say. But I'm happy that they're doubling down on the campaign, and apparently it is going to be a bigger campaign than we've had previously. But that's coming out on the 15th of May. So those leaks were accurate. The leaks that we got told about in the stream on Wednesday. Well, one of them anyway. So yeah, Doom: The Dark Ages. I mean, all four of those games I am interested in. I really do think that Xbox is going to have a fantastic year. 2025 is looking really solid for Xbox now, in terms of the games that are coming out, and they're all coming out day one on Game Pass as well. On PC game,
really pushing it.
yeah, on PC Game Pass. Obviously, console Game Pass, you've now got different tiers. PC Game Pass, man, that's a really good deal. They're going to change that at some point. I can see that happening. Yeah, like the fact I can play these all day one is awesome. Just fantastic. It's going to save me a lot of money, which is nice, because of the volume of games I do play for the channel. So it does mean I'll be able to play more games and maybe do more reviews for them, which will be awesome. But yeah, like between Avowed coming out as well, and like there's tons of games coming out like on Game Pass with Xbox. They're going to have a very good 2025. Sony are not in a good place right now. They really need to bring out some, you need to have some good releases or swingers. They are in a rocky place right now as Sony. I don't know what the hell they've been playing at, but now Xbox is more of a publisher than anything else. Yeah. It's a publisher. They're a publisher now more than a hardware, selling hardware. So, but yeah, like it's looking good anyway. If you're a Game Pass subscriber, like, and I think as well, I think a lot of these games may well boost Game Pass subscriptions. You might just have people subscribing just for April and May.
Yeah.
Just I'm going to subscribe.
How much time they've got.
Yeah, I'm going to subscribe for 2 months, right? Just to play all of these like awesome new releases that are coming out, and then they may choose to stay on. You know, if there's a good backlog of games on Game Pass as well. If there's things that you haven't played before, so I think it's definitely worth jumping in, especially in April and May. You're eating well. If you're an Xbox fan, most definitely. And I know a lot of Xbox fans will be happy to see all of these. But yeah, the showcase was fabulous. Really, really good. And I like the style, and I want them to carry on doing it this way.
Yeah, like Nintendo doing those indie directs were very similar, where they had like short bursts of like behind the interviews kind of with the developers. Yeah. So like this bit like focused version of it where they're like really
deep dive, really going behind the scenes.
Love it.
Fabulous, just awesome.
Needs more of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Only do it one time?
No, yeah, they did once. It was at E3. They had their showcase, and they just showcased 4 games, but it was at E3. So the development team came to E3, talked about it, and then you had a big like in-depth gameplay reveal or gameplay trailer, and then they had a really cool like orchestra that did music for the 4 games. I think it was like Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us Part 2, and then it was 2 others as well that they were showcasing there, and they just did the 4 games focused down on them. I think that's better. Yeah. You know, like first half of the year, right, these are the 4 games that we've got coming out. Then in the second half of the year, maybe do another one. Right, this is what we've got coming out. I think it gives consumers a better idea of whether or not it's something that they're going to be into, and if they want to like pick up the Game Pass to play it, or if they want to buy this game outright on other platforms, you know.
Microsoft's bought up
on PC, I should say.
they can just go.
Yeah, absolutely. Like their release cadence is going to be absolutely insane, because now they've got Bethesda. Obviously, you've got Obsidian cooking this year with Avowed, and then The Outer Worlds 2, both of which are slated to come out this year. They are cooking this year, our Xbox. They've got a lot of stuff coming out. So I'm hyped and excited to see it. So that's it then. That's our first Normandy News Feed, episode 1 of 2025. Lots of interesting gaming news going on at the moment. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below on any of these topics that we've talked about today. Let's get a conversation. Let's get a discussion going. Obviously, if you do have any questions that you'd like to ask myself or Dante, we might do like a mid-year Q&A or something as part of the Normandy News Feed and answer your burning questions. So please do ask those in the comment section below. And if there are any suggestions on gaming news, like that you'd like us to cover, if anything comes out that you want us to talk about in these fortnightly videos, then pop that in the Discord. Let us know in the Discord. Go and join the Discord server and put your suggestions in there. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this type of video. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for all your support. We'll be back again in 2 weeks time with more gaming news for you all, so please do look forward to that. Hope you guys have a great week, of course. Take care, and as always, happy gaming. We should go.
Johnny.